An unexpected thief. A crying woman called the police and told them that someone had stolen her belongings. When the police arrived, they heard the full story. The woman had been standing on the side of the road with her wallet, cell phone, and several shopping bags in her hands, waiting for her taxi. Suddenly, a man rushed by and snatched her wallet and smartphone. Unfortunately, the woman had seen him only from behind. Luckily, the police managed to find a witness who had been standing nearby when the theft had happened. The man said that the thief was a tall, red-haired man dressed in a blue jacket, worn jeans, and black sneakers. And after he grabbed the woman's things, the thief went inside the nearest building through the fire escape door. Surprisingly, the police immediately arrested the witness, and true to form, the woman's wallet and cell phone were found in his pockets. 10 seconds for you to figure out how the police realized that he was the criminal. Fire escape doors can only be opened from the inside, so the man lied from the very beginning to trick the police. A smart tribe leader. One night, a theft happened in a tribe. In the morning, when it was discovered, the tribe leader gathered all the tribe members and questioned them. In the end, he had 6 suspects. The leader gave each of them a wooden stick and told them that they were magical, and by the end of the day, the thief's stick would grow 3 inches longer. When the suspects came to the leader in the morning, he looked at the sticks they were holding in their hands and immediately knew who the criminal was. How did he figure it out if the sticks weren't actually magical and none of them had grown longer? The thief's stick was 3 inches shorter than the rest because he'd expected it to grow during the night. A buried crown. Mr. Douglas was a wealthy American who was dreaming of buying a castle in France. One day, his dream came true, and he moved to his new home with his wife, 13-year-old son Dave, and 9-year-old daughter Mia. Everyone was happy about the relocation, but the girl. She had to leave her friends behind, and now she spent hours on end studying French. One day, Mia was wandering around the castle when she noticed that a portrait of a pretty little princess was crooked. When she came up to straighten it, a letter fell down from behind the frame. Luckily, Mia had learned enough French to read it. The letter was dated back to 1835, and in it, the very girl from the portrait wrote that she was tired of being a princess. That's why that day, at 3 p.m., she buried her crown and all her jewelry under a massive oak behind the castle, right where the shadow from its top ended. Mia rushed to the nearest window and saw the oak. Even better, it was exactly 3 p.m. The girl ran outside and started to dig in the place described in the letter. But although she did everything correctly, she couldn't find any treasure. And you have only 10 seconds to figure out why. The tree has grown much taller since 1835, and of course, its shadow has become longer as well. Stolen documents. A businessman arrived at his office after a long trip and discovered that some important documents had disappeared from his desk. He immediately called the police, and a detective arrived shortly after. After interviewing all the workers, he had a list with 3 suspects on it. They were Emma, the accountant, Sophia, the receptionist, and James, the sales manager. But each of these people claimed that they hadn't even been inside the businessman's office. Still, it didn't take long until the detective figured out who was lying. Will 10 seconds be enough for you? The thief is James. Both women wear high heels in the office, but the footprints on the floor were obviously left by sneakers. An apple in a bottle. You see a full-sized apple in a glass bottle with a thin neck. The fruit is intact and the bottle is also undamaged. Then how was the fruit placed there? The apple grew inside the bottle, which was put on the tree branch even before the fruit was formed. Flowers for the wife. A deaf man came to a flower store to buy some flowers for his beloved wife's birthday. How can he explain to the shop assistant what he needs? He can just say it. He's deaf, not mute. What am I? You throw me when you need me, and pick me up when you don't need me. Can you figure out what I am in 10 seconds? Right you are, I'm an anchor. A risky trick. A professional skydiver jumped out of an airplane, but she'd forgotten to put on her parachute. And still, she survived. How is it possible? Well, the plane wasn't in the air yet. She was just preparing for a flight. A mathematical puzzle. Can you increase 66 by 1.5 if you aren't allowed to make any mathematical operations? Hurry up! You only have 10 seconds to figure it out. Just turn 66 upside down. Kidnapped Liam. Little Liam's parents were in a sheer panic. Their 7-year-old son had been kidnapped. Liam's mom told the police that when they'd arrived home, the living room window was broken and there was no boy in the house. The only thing they found was his sketchbook with a picture inside. The police questioned 3 suspects. Mia, Liam's aunt, said she had been out of town, but as soon as she found out about the accident, she rushed back. Lucas, Liam's uncle, informed the police that he hadn't seen his nephew for several weeks. And finally, Tom, a family friend, claimed that he'd spent some time with the boy the day before, but they hadn't met since. Can you identify the kidnapper? Liam's sketch can help you with your task. The kidnapper is Tom. A robot that went around the bend. Ben was the chief engineer in a secret laboratory that produced robots. One day, he had to test a new experimental robot model. Following the instructions, Ben used an electronic lock to close and shut the door, and only after that, he switched the robot on. But something went wrong, and the machine got out of control and began to attack the engineer. Ben rushed toward the door, but for some mysterious reason, it wouldn't budge. Looking around in a panic, the man spotted several things that could help him defend the robot off: a pointer, a short rubber stick, deodorant spray, and a lighter. Which object or objects should Ben use to protect himself? The rubber stick would do nothing to stop the robot. If Ben had enough time, he could probably make a flamethrower from the lighter and the spray. But even so, it wouldn't harm the heavy metal robot. But with the help of the seemingly harmless pointer, the engineer can reach the robot's power button and switch the crazy thing off. a destroyed kingdom. One kingdom was regularly attacked by witches until one day it was burned to ashes by a bizarre-looking blue fire that was impossible to extinguish. The only person who survived was the prince of the kingdom, and he knew that no one but a witch could start such a fire. That's why he decided to travel to the land of witches to figure out who had destroyed his country. When he arrived, he saw 3 witches, gray, brown, and purple, sitting around the infamous blue fire. "My kingdom was destroyed by witchcraft. Who did it?" The gray witch answered that at the moment of the attack, she was on vacation in Africa. The brown witch was indignant that the prince would accuse her of doing such evil deeds and informed him that she had just returned from China. And the purple witch claimed that she could tell the future and heal people, but had no power over fire. You have 10 seconds to figure out who burned the prince's kingdom. It was the purple witch. How did she know about the fire if the prince never mentioned it?